This is an exciting time for the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department and law enforcement across the entire state of North Carolina. Today, we are now signed into law the Pretrial Integrity Act. It's great to finally see this come to fruition where we have been talking about this for several months. And to have that accountability that we have been looking for throughout the criminal justice system, and to see that we're now looking at judges making those decisions, very important decisions, on setting bonds for some of our most violent offenders.
I'm extremely gratified. I know there's been a lot of hard work put into this. We know that when we stand up in court and make an argument for the detention of someone in custody, that we want to make sure that we have the law behind us and that the judge understands just how critical this is and how important it is.
Judges are elected officials and they're accountable to their constituents and the people that voted them into office. We needed more of that within the system when it comes to certain offenses that are necessary to keep our citizens safe.
It's going to make sure that for a whole host of some of the most serious crimes within our law, that the bond for those folks are not going to be set by magistrates sort of in the dark of night, but actually going to be set in open court by judges who have been elected by the people, who can be held accountable by the people. I think that's extremely important. It's also critical that for people who are repeat offenders, that those are cases, those are circumstances where, again, it will be judges and not magistrates in the dark of night who will set the release conditions for those folks.
There's this revolving door that has been taking place of criminals that have been getting out that probably should not have gotten out when they did and should have been heard and gone before a judge for that bond.
It creates conditions so that for those serious crimes, just like we do with first-degree murder, judges will have the option to make sure that people are detained in custody.
It's not a knock on the magistrates, it's not criticism of magistrates. When you have that accountability from the judges, it creates that consistency across the state, and that's going to be really important.
For the types of crimes that really can cause a chill throughout our community, people want to know that they're being handled seriously and that they're being handled with accountability. This bill does that.
Now, if you can imagine that you put in hours and hours and hours of work to develop probable cause and you make an arrest and there's some sort of victory to that, to where you have finally brought some closure to a chapter in a very serious crime, only to find out that within an hour or a few minutes that individual is back on the streets. And imagine the frustration you can have as not just an officer but also the victims that we're accountable for. And that's, to us, is a very serious issue. I teamed up with our District Attorney Spencer Merriweather, also Chief District Court Judge Elizabeth Trosh. We got to a point to where we knew what we wanted it to look like on paper. We had to come to find some common ground to say, this is what this looks like that will hold more accountability to pretrial release.
What has happened far too long within our jurisdiction, across our state, is that often people are released from custody before a DA has anything to say about it, before a prosecutor has anything to say about it. This removes that for a whole host of crimes, for a whole host of defendants who have repeatedly been a threat to public safety.
If we're able to put those people in front of the judges, there's also things that can be done while they're awaiting trial, whether it's to seek mental health assistance or whether it's to seek drug treatment. Anything like that that can be ordered as a condition of their pretrial release.
I know that there are a lot of victims and family members of victims and neighbors and residents throughout our community who have put in a lot of time and a lot of effort to make sure that their voice is heard and figuring out how to better change and improve our justice system. And to see that played out and delivered in this bill is, like I said, really gratifying.
This is certainly not the panacea for everything ills in the criminal justice system. I do think it's a step in the right direction, and I do think that when officers see that individuals that they've worked hard for to develop probable cause and build those cases, that they know that they're going to go in front of a judge in order to get bond. If I can do anything within our community, within the state of North Carolina or law enforcement in general to improve the process, then I'm willing and able to do that. I'm going to step forward every time.